I'm Emily Zimmerman, president here at Levine Museum in the New South, where we tell the stories and present the history of the U.S. South since the Civil War. So please join me and let's give a round of applause to welcome our three distinguished panelists. And now I turn the floor over to Rick Elias, who will be followed by Dr. Quillen and Dr. Quebien, and then you'll have an opportunity for Q&A. Thanks so much for coming.
So this is like a comedy club. So the warm back and the real performers come right after. So 2 weeks ago, I went with the family to watch the movie 42, which is the movie about Jackie Robinson and the first African-American baseball player to play in the major leagues. And I was struck by a conversation that happened towards the end of the movie where Jackie Robinson, I think for the third time, asks the owner of the team, "Why are you doing this? You're catching so much heat. You're catching so much grief. Why are you doing it?" And the owner of the team looks at Jackie Robinson and says, "Long time ago, I had a chance to do what was right, and I did. And this time, I'm going to do what's right." So what I'm hoping today that you get through the presentation is an understanding of an issue that I believe is not right. And the reason I decided to take a public stance is because I believe that once you know something to be wrong, if you don't do something about it, you're part of the problem. So I'm going to tell you about this, the way I learned about it through three different individuals and how I learned about this issue. I'm going to tell you about Golden Door Scholars and how we came about and where are we today in terms of the program. And then I'm going to finish with a 30-second clip on something, a viral video that we are going to start distributing. So this is the premiere. I want to see this little video. It's still in editing, so you may not recognize it when it comes out. So let me tell you about the life of a friend of mine. 3.5 years ago, I've known him since he was 8. All three individuals are undocumented kids that came to the U.S. somewhere in their childhood. And he was a senior at a local public school, and I went to him and said, "Renato, where are you going to college?" I knew he was an exceptional student, top 3% of his class. Very, very well-mannered kid. And he looked at me and looked at the floor and didn't answer. I thought that was very odd. So I went to his mom and I said, "Elisa, where's Renato going to college?" And she looked at me almost like, "How do you not know?" And she says, "He's not going to college. He's going to go work in the same kitchen his dad works at." And I said, "Isn't he an exceptional student?" And she said, "Yeah, top of his class." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "It's very hard for undocumented kids to go to college." I moved here from Puerto Rico. I'm of Hispanic descent, and I had no clue. So I started researching, and here's what I learned. If you're an undocumented kid in our country, it's illegal for you to attend public university in 3 states. If you're not an undocumented student in our country, you can't get in-state tuition in 38 states, including North Carolina and South Carolina, which means that you cannot afford public education, which was meant to be accessible and affordable for our best and right. And if you are an undocumented student in our country, you don't qualify for any financial aid. None. What's even worse is that the few and far between that go to college until last July, when you graduated with a degree, you could not work in this country for 10 years. And I felt ignorant. How did I not know about this issue? How did I not know what was going on? So, of course, my wife and I said, "No, we're going to put you to school, and you're going to go get a degree." And I talked to him on my way here today. And he graduates Mother's Day next week. He graduates with a 3.8 GPA from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, with a degree in computer science, with a degree in chemistry, and with a minor in math. And I thought about, he may have been a line manager by now. And instead, this kid is going to change the life, him, his family, his community, our country. The second kid is no longer a kid. I met him when he was 17 years old. I actually met him and he was already in prison. He's one of my best friends. I have talked to him for 30 minutes every week for the last 15 years. And I've learned more from him than I have learned from any human being. He's also an undocumented kid. After about a decade, I asked him, why did you get involved with gangs? And at first he gave me I couldn't do anything about it, I lived in the neighborhood. But when I started probing, I realized that he said, Rick, I have no hope. My siblings, he's the youngest of four, had all graduated from high school and none of them went to college. We had taken away all hope from this huge segment of our population. And I researched, and I found out that over 50% of undocumented kids don't graduate from high school. Because when you take away hope from somebody, when you take away their ability to fulfill the potential, you're giving them a very difficult choice. Let me tell you about a third young man that I have not met, but I recently read about it. And I'm telling you about him because it's the kind of choices we're forcing these young men and women to make. This young man came to this country also around the age of 6. And he, very, very talented. As talented, oh, by the way, my second friend, Roberto, he got his GDS in prison. He had his bachelor's degree in prison. He's at the University of Ohio, and he's in the 3rd year of his bachelor's degree. The guy's the chess champion in prison. I can't even play with him. And he's tremendous, so just that aside, but I'm so proud of him. So this third individual had the same fortune that 95% of these kids graduating from high school have, which is they can't attend college. So he got a job. He got a job at McDonald's. He took the bus 40 minutes each way to go to McDonald's. And he's in prison now. Because the only way you can get a job in this country, if you're an undocumented kid, is by figuring out how to get someone else's Social Security card. And he got caught. He's getting deported if he hasn't already. What choice do you give a kid? You can't go to school, and you can't get a job. Somehow along the way, we decided that the American dream for all these kids should end at grade 12. We decided that while they were kids, it was okay. But as soon as they turn 18, they should pay the price for a crime they did not commit. Immigration is a tough issue. It's a very tough issue. But these kids did not commit a crime. They did not have a choice. Can you imagine putting a kid in prison? If he's sitting in the back of a car when his or her parents rob a bank and saying, okay, now you're 18, now you're going to prison. That's what we're doing to these kids. So this is what inspired a group of us to say, we are going to take a stance. Once the FAIR action happened, which was last July, President Obama, political and non-political, none of my business, said, okay, now when you get a degree, you can apply for a work permit. Not a path to citizenship, but you can get a driver's license and you can get a work permit. Now getting an education actually puts you in the mainstream versus forcing you to commit a felony if you ever want to work in this country. We decided to start Golden Doors not knowing what to expect. I'll tell you, and there's Ann is here from the Observer and many of her people. They had to take the website down. The debate was so heated. Positive and negatives. Insults, compliments. It didn't really face me. Because I knew that if one of those was my kid, I knew what I would do. I knew too much. I could no longer turn a blind eye to this issue. So we did one newspaper article, hoping we would get 25, 30 kids. Our goal was to select 5 kids, 4-year scholarship, summer internship at Red Ventures, all years, with one condition, that when they achieved their own success, they agreed to pay it forward. They agreed, whenever they made enough money, that they would put at least one kid through school. It's a moral obligation. I'm very convinced that they'll put more than one kid through school. So we put out that article, we build a website, we build a process. We have no idea what we're doing. We're not professionals, right? So we're like looking at transcripts and resumes and essays and working through the night and on the weekend. We had 487. At first it was kind of fun. Hey, we got 20, we got 30, yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my goodness. This is a much bigger issue than we thought. We started reading the profiles. Brenda and I were away for a weekend and I took my batch. 4.2, 4.0, 3.9, 4.6. These were exceptional students. We brought in 40 for interviews. We did 40 phone interviews. And we selected down to 20 for in-person interviews. It was the worst day to try to tell 15 kids you're not going to college after you have seen into their eyes. So we did. We actually ended up using all our money and taking 13 kids into the program. These kids are everything I hope my kids become. They've overcome more, they've dealt with more, and they have more courage, tenacity, more passion for contributing to our country than any kid I've ever met their age. So, Taylor, can you please hit the next slide? So this are the 13 kids. Get out of the way for a second. That will be going to college, and I will like to ask the 3 of them that are here today to please stand up and let's give them a round. The average GPA of the first Golden Door Scholars class is 4.6. Captains of soccer teams, involved in the community, involved in nonprofits, doing things that are wonderful for our community. They're all American kids in all ways but one. And I'll tell you, I think about the 7 that we met that we couldn't offer anything. And I think about them often. So last week, we got a call from an organization, the Emily K Foundation, which is up in Durham. And they say, hey, we're really struggling. A kid that finished 15, 4.6 GPA. No reason he finished 15. We just had to take 13. He got into every school. And he's gotten some scholarship. He can't go to college. He may go to community college. He's willing to work full time. He's willing to go every other semester. So we say, hey, drive him down. We'll meet with him. We haven't, we'll meet with him again. He's also going to college. My point being, they've done their part. We're leaving them behind. How big of an issue is this? There's over 1 million undocumented kids under the age of 18 in our country today. There's over 1 million that we already left behind while we debate immigration and the DREAM Act and all that. People that were forced to make decisions that were not what they wanted to make, or to live well below their potential. My hope today is that you tell 3 people about this. We're not looking for money. We're not looking for help. Not that we won't take it. But we don't need it. What we need is to make people aware and educated about this issue. Every time I've had this conversation with somebody, they said, we do what? Our country was founded on the belief that we must give equal opportunity to people. And this is one where we need to take a stance. Immigration reform looks like it's going to happen. And if it happens to solve most of the issues, the local legislator can decide not to accept them as in-state residents. So we must ensure that that happens. But it's very possible, just like it happened with background checks and gun control, that the political establishment doesn't make this happen. My hope is that this is the shortest-lived charity in the world, and that the problem goes away and we can find something else. I want to show you now a quick video so that you guys see what is going to start hopefully going by on the internet.
I've lived in America my whole life. During high school, I achieved a 4.4 GPA, played on the varsity baseball and football team, while spending my Sundays volunteering at the local soup kitchen. I've always believed in the American dream. I'm an all-American kid. Yet, I'm an undocumented student. My name is Jose, and I'm America's most overqualified dishwasher.
Over 1 million undocumented students in America will be unable to attend college due to circumstances beyond their control. For them, the American dream ends at grade 12. Learn more at goldendoorscholars.org.
I'll leave you with a quote that perhaps is what Mr. Ricky was thinking about when he brought Jackie Robinson to the Brooklyn Dodgers. The quote is, it is not only what we do, but what we don't do, for which we're ultimately accountable. Thank you.
My name is Carol Quillen, and I'm the president of Davidson College. I'm going to speak to you in two voices tonight. First, as the president of a college, and second, as a historian. It's a privilege for me to be in this museum dedicated to the history of the New South. The mission of the museum speaks to the need that we all have as Americans to be honest about the past, not whitewash things that need exposure, and to be our best selves going forward for the future. But first, since I try to do what I'm asked to do, and Rick asked me to speak as an educator, I'm going to speak as president of Davidson. Davidson is one of those places that Rick talked about. It's a highly selective college. We take the best and the brightest. We have some amazing students and graduates of Davidson in the room with us tonight. We have our pick of students like the ones that Rick talked about tonight. Students who are smart and dedicated and want to make the world a better place for having been in it. Davidson's obligation to this country is to be accessible to all talented students, regardless of their financial circumstances. If we fail to do that, we have lost our social justification. I need to be able to say, when I go and ask people to support Davidson, Davidson offers an unsurpassed education, and we offer that education to talented and eager students, regardless of their financial circumstances. Davidson is need blind. We practice need blind admission. We need demonstrated financial need, and we do it without asking our students to take out loans. That was a leap of faith, the moral courage of our board that made that possible, and for us to live up to that, we can't ask for students of people who came here and are undocumented, we can't ask those kids to pay a price. Davidson is as good as those two promises, an unsurpassed education available to all talented and eager students, irrespective of their financial circumstances. Why? Why is that so important? Because this, the United States of America, is a democracy. And in a democracy, if the most accurate predictor of your access to education is the income of your parents, that's not a democracy for long. That is, in this country today, a hugely accurate indicator of your educational opportunity, the income level of your parents. Rick's talking about a whole generation of children who don't even have that option. Who don't even have the option of college through no fault of their own. We at Davidson are proud to have undocumented kids among our students. It's a privilege for us to have kids who work that hard at Davidson, and we're fortunate to have a Golden Door Scholar with us next year. So the first reason why, as an educator, this cause matters is because our justification to people like you who support us is that we offer an unsurpassed educational experience, and we offer it to all talented and eager students, irrespective of their financial circumstances. That's what makes Davidson worth supporting. I'm proud to be there. It's a privilege to be a part of the community that made that promise to America's children. But there's another reason why this cause matters. This cause matters because Davidson is a place where knowledge gets produced and disseminated. We are an educational institution. And for us to produce accurate knowledge, and here I speak as a historian, for us to produce accurate knowledge, we need a diverse group of people asking the questions. For as long as American history was written by people way smarter than I am, way better historians than I could ever be, they were all from the same part of the country, they went to the same schools, they had the same background, they asked the same questions. They asked the same questions. And the views of the past, our past, that they produced were distorted. They were good historians, they were smart people. They couldn't see what they took for granted. They could not see what they took for granted. There were no histories of immigration. There were no histories of women. There were no histories of slave culture and religion, because those things didn't register on the radar of the people asking the questions. So it's on us, higher education, to ensure that the people asking the questions come from different backgrounds and don't take the same things for granted. So both so that Davidson College can be a place that the United States is proud of, a place where equal opportunity is more than a slogan, but is made real by the actions of our faculty and staff every day, and so that Davidson College, as an institution devoted to the production of knowledge, can live up to that charge given to us by this society. This issue matters. It's not icing on the cake. It's not a nice thing to do on the side. It's at the core of who we are. It's at the core of who we are as an educational institution with a long history of producing new, accurate, progressive knowledge. I want to speak also as a historian, as somebody who spent a long time learning about the history of this country, learning about the history of the people who founded this country, and learning about the history of the Europeans who came to this country before it was a country. The United States is a great place, and we are all unbelievably lucky to be here and to live here. Unbelievably lucky. I love this country. The United States was born out of two tragedies. The death of many, many, many indigenous people who lived here before Europeans got here, and slavery. And those are two facts of American history that are complex and that we have to address in the histories that we write. But as a result of those two things, the United States is a nation of immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants, overwhelmingly a nation of immigrants from Britain and Ireland and the Netherlands and Italy and China and Africa. We are a nation of immigrants. And what that means politically for us is that everybody became an American. And being an American meant accepting a set of political ideas and membership in a political community. It is not an ethnic identity. It is not a religious identity. It is not a racial identity. It is a political identity. It is a political identity founded on certain ideals about equality and freedom and opportunity. And we should be proud of that fact. And if you've ever lived anywhere else where your rights to belong are tied to your blood, then you know how lucky we are to live here and to be a part of a political community where that is not the case. We are a nation, a proud nation of immigrants. We are mostly from somewhere else. This political community is what we made it to be, and it is a great, great country. Finally, I want to speak to you in my own voice as a child of my parents. I grew up really lucky. I went to private Quaker school. I presumed from the time I was a child that I would go to college. My parents were overeducated. My father would say overeducated for the talent they brought to the task. Famous for saying, and we've all adopted this in my family, we push mediocre talent just about as far as it can go. There was, among all the education and all that, there was one diploma that has ever been hanging anywhere in my house. And it's my grandfather's diploma from Dover High School. And what my grandfather would say was, Dover High School to Harvard Law School, that's opportunity. That's my America, that should be their America, and it's on us to make that happen for those children. Thank you.
How do you follow that? Goodness gracious, look, you cheated me. I don't know how you follow through silver-tongued orator, the one who stood up here and said that he held the responsibility on his shoulders to make a difference. Another who said, privileged as she may have been, she today carries the responsibility on her shoulders. How do you follow to such talented and outstanding messages of hope and conviction? Let me just tell you that I came to this country when I was 17 years of age. And in one of my books I wrote this quote, which has been published quite widely. The quote goes something like this. The circumstances in which you find yourself do not have to define the person you become. There's always the choices that you make that define the person that you become. It's not the circumstances, it's the choices. It's not the circumstances, it's the choices. It's not the circumstances, it's the choices. My father died when I was 6 years of age. Sometimes I'm asked this question, Nido, if you could change one thing in your life, what would be the one thing you'd want to most change in your life? I'm clear on that. Listen, if I could change one thing in my life, I would have much rather have had a father. A dad who would have read me a book, sang me a song, thrown me a ball, taken me to the circus, or just talked with me man to man. But that simply was not my fate. Have you noticed in life that often out of adversity can emerge abundance? When you think the whole world is coming to an end, there is no door of opportunity, the mountain is too high to climb, all of a sudden, a turning point makes you look at life differently. A turning point makes you look at life differently. And so there was my mom. My mom, Carol, had only 4th grade education. Just to show how different backgrounds we leave the same place. 4th grade education. Yet I put my mom against 25 of the smartest people you can gather in the world. Why? Because my mother had a postgraduate degree in a discipline you and I would call common sense. Someone said, you know what the trouble with America is today? Common sense ain't as common as it used to be. So that was my mother. She learned to be a seamstress, and she worked day and night to feed us and to clothe us, and to instill in us values for life and principles for living. And practically everything I've learned throughout my life stems back from two places. First, the Holy Bible, and second, my mother. Everything else was really a repeat of some sort of these basic messages. So my mother would say to me something like this: if you want to be a great person, you must first walk hand in hand and side by side with great people. You're going to be happy, hang around happy people. You're going to be successful, be around successful people. You want to be innovative, hang around innovators. It's that simple. And so I changed those words when I became president of Highpoint University so that our students can understand them and repeat them and live by them. And I said, who you spend time with is who you become. That is why this issue is important, right? Because who you spend time with is who you become. You spend time on a university campus with stellar faculty, learned men and women, your mind is expanded, your horizons get blown way out there into a focused area that is magnificent and intellectual and can reach us in magical and magnificent ways. And so think of the koi fish, my friends. The koi fish, you put a koi fish in a fish bowl. You give it all the water you want to give it, all the food you want to give it. The koi fish never grows to more inches in size. You take the koi fish out of the fish bowl and you throw it in a lake somewhere, what happens to the koi fish? It grows to about a foot in size. The moral of the story really is quite simple. The koi fish grows proportionately to the environment in which it lives. When the koi fish lived in a little fish bowl, it had no adversity. Somebody was giving it water, somebody was giving it food, it didn't need to grow and become strong. The moment it went into this big lake, what happened to the koi fish? There was other bigger species with one thing on their mind. And the koi fish had no choice. The water is deeper, the water is colder, the species are so much bigger, but they become stronger and better. That, effectively, is what you've done in your life. That you've had to overcome the most difficult of times and rise above it and make these grades and make these GPAs in ways that other people find pretty amazing in spite of, because of adversity. So I was your age, you were like 17 or 18, right? I was your age when I came to math. I don't speak very few words of English. Hello, where's the bathroom? Kiss me, please. And I landed in a place, the only school in America that would take a guy who had no money, no English, and no connections. And I'm grateful forever for the school in Mount Olive, North Carolina, the capital of the pickles of all time. And I went to school, but it took me years and years to figure out why would Mount Olive, then Mount Olive Junior College, accept this kid into their school. I finally figured it out. I'm absolutely convinced that the director of admissions must have thought to himself or herself, this kid comes from the Holy Land, we're our Free Will Baptist school, we've got to take him, what if he's the Messiah? I got a job in the cafeteria. My job in the cafeteria was to wash dishes and take care of things. After a day, I quit that job. They paid us 80 cents an hour, and I figured out that pretty girls don't want to date a guy who smelled like meatloaf. So I got a job in the library. 3 days later, I was fired. Would you like to know why? My job was to take all the books that people brought back and put them back in the stacks. 3 days later, they said I was doing it all wrong. I was completely destroying the library, and therefore they fired me, and I could never understand why, because I'm telling you, I did it perfectly. I put all the red books together, all the green books together. But somebody had a different idea. But let me tell you what happened to me the end of my second year in my life. I was going to transfer to what was then Highpoint College. We have 2 or 3 or 4 graduates of Highpoint College and students of Highpoint College here tonight. Thank you for being here. I didn't realize you would be here. Nice of you. And the president of the school came up to me and said this. He said, Nido, I know that you work 10 hours a day to work your way through college. Yes, I worked my way through college. And he said, I don't know how to tell you this, but there was a major chasm between the money that you paid the school and the money that you owed the school. And you just might like to know that a doctor in a neighboring city called Goldsboro picked up the tab for the difference. Oh my, oh my. What would you have done if you were me? On that day, I went back to my dorm room and knelt by the side of my bed. I cried my eyes out and I made a commitment to God Almighty. Now you make a decision with your brain. You make a commitment with your heart. That's why decisions are easy to break. That's why commitments are harder to break. On that day I made a commitment to God Almighty. As soon as I work and have any money, I do somehow start a fund to help kids go to college. And Rick, as you know, that's what I did. 1973, first year in business. I was living on Swanson dinners, 3 for $1. You know Swanson dinner? You live on that for 2 weeks, you're constipated for life. Took the first $500. I would appreciate if the reporter from the Charlotte Observer not quoting on that. I took the first $500 and I gave it away to a scholarship. And you know what happened? God has blessed me in ways I never thought possible. I understand, Rick, the power of what you wanted to do. Not only because you focused it on undocumented students, which is powerful in and of itself, as Carol amply suggested tonight, but more importantly, I understand what it means when you choose to dedicate your life to plant seeds of greatness. In the minds, yes, but in the hearts and the souls of human beings. We all came from the salt of the earth. We've all gone back to the salt of the earth. Along the path we succeed, and we may make money, and we may be endowed and blessed in magical ways, and like the Levines and the Robinsons and other wonderful people in the city established this incredible museum and other fabulous places in the city and across our state. All that is wonderful. At the end of the day, it's all about the people we touched and the seeds we planted in the hearts and souls along the path of planting them in your minds too. So that's me. I understand. I came to America as an immigrant. I worked hard. I began my business. Later in life, I had a number of businesses. I was blessed beyond imagination. I am still very involved in my old school, Mount Olive. And I wish I knew that doctor. When I said to the president, I'd like to know who this person is, the president said, the amazing part of the story, this person wishes to remain anonymous. I still don't know. I have no idea if it's a man or a woman. But that seed allowed me to make a commitment that later gave hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of scholarships to lots of students. That seed rate, that gift that I believe God gave you one day that said, hey, you can do something amazing. Here's an area of need. And you came to talk to me and to other presidents of other schools, and you persuade us one by one to partner with you in this mission. At the end of the day, life really is not very difficult to understand. It's about the people you spend time with, as my mother suggested to me. It's about the choices we make. As I said, circumstances don't define us, it's the choices that define us. And so I tell our students at Highpoint University, I teach a freshman class. Every freshman that comes to Highpoint takes my class in the fall. And every senior takes my class in their last year before they graduate. I'm going to get you coming in. I'm going to get you coming out. And I'm going to see to it that you have the values of gratitude and appreciation in your heart, and that you understand that life awaits you, and that you can build bridges of understanding and make something amazing. Just like Rick was saying to you, life awaits you. You have a responsibility to pay it forward and make something amazing. And it's all about choices, really. It's about our choices to support people. Look, I'm not a political animal. Really am not. I'm not too interested in the politics of this. I'm not really too interested in any issues that may be embedded in regulations, whatever. What I'm truly interested in is the breathing soul who requires oxygen to survive. That's my focus. That's my interest. That's your focus. That's your interest. And that to me is what life really is all about. It's who you spend time with is who you become. What you choose is what you get. I have a friend, I have to tell you, his name is Jack. Jack's an amazing guy. Jack has been married 8 times. The last time Jack got married, we all printed bumper stickers that said, "Hunk if you've been married to Jack." It's all about choices that you make. And the reality of it is, if these guys and other like them were not to make the right choices, if presidents of universities were not to make the right choices, if you have not chosen to make the right choice, oh my, I'm not really too sure what our future would look like. We're as good as with the people we touch. We're as good as the seeds we plant. We're as good as the wells we dig so others can quench their thirst. Really, at the end of the day, we're going to die. And don't get too excited. You think you're important. When you die, the size of your funeral is going to depend on the weather. We're not as hot as we think we are. We really are not. The only thing that's really going to matter are the people we touch, the lives we touched, the lives that we touched. One last thought for you when we talk about society, when we talk about how it affects our lives. We're living in ever-changing times. I mean, this is part of change that we're talking about. And I'm reminded every day that all meaningful change, I mean really, really meaningful change, meaningful in the sense that it's impactful, it influences and affects our lives, all meaningful change comes from within. It comes from within. The results that I enjoy in life are based on the behaviors that I display in life. And the behaviors I display in life are based on the beliefs that I hold close to my heart. My beliefs lead to my behaviors lead to my results. And I think that's true of all of us. And so the reality of it is all meaningful change comes from within. And if we're going to make the world a better place, we have to look into our heart. Not be so intellectual about it. Not so be so, decision-making and problem-solving. And let's just be solution-finding. Let's just say, what is the solution to make society a better place? How can we make America a better place? How can we make Charlotte a better place? How can we make Carlos's life a better place? How can we make Anna's life a better place? How can we make Pablo's life a better place? Because as we change the world in that way, our society becomes a byproduct of what we put into it. This past weekend we had our graduation at Highpoint University, and our speaker was Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple Computer with Steve Jobs. And he spoke to our students, and we interviewed him, and had a really good time with him. And I asked him the question, at what point in your life did you realize, did you understand, did you acknowledge in some form that a computer could somehow read the human mind, or can do things like the human mind can do? And I listened with fascination about this man explaining to me how he did what he did, the passion that he had nothing to do with money, nothing to do with economics, nothing to do with awards, nothing like that. It was his area of interest to change the world in a positive way. I am absolutely convinced, dear friends, that every student's life we touch in this program, in this Golden Door program, will go on to do amazing things. There is no way that these young people who realize and acknowledge and understand that others stood tall to help them, to assist them, to open the doors of opportunity for them. There is no way they will ever forget that. That's a turning point. Turning point after turning point after turning point creates tipping points. I left a very successful business career to become president of a school that was relatively small and not very well known. And I did it because it was a tipping point for me. I felt that I prepared my life, all my life, to be able to be a model and a guide and a mentor to young people. I have no doubt in my mind that President Quillen feels the same way about her role and her students. That we do this work because we believe in the lives of a human being. And we believe that this human being can do amazing things. I'm proud of the three of you. I'm really, really proud of you. I'm really, really proud of you. Because it's guys like you who change the world. Someday, I've written 15 books about all kinds of business things. Someday, I'd like to write a book about people who change the world. Not people like sculptors we have at Highpoint University of Archimedes and Shakespeare and Rosa Parks, but current people who are changing the world. Maybe that's the title. People who are changing the world. One step at a time. One person at a time. One moment at a time. And you have the cumulative effect where we all can wake up and see the sunrise and go, the world is changing in ways that we all believe in. We all feel good about. What is the purpose of society if it isn't to help each other? How can society live with happiness and joy if we see people who have a great need and we ignore them? I'm a Christian. I believe in what Jesus said. If you've done it unto the least of you, your brothers and sisters, you've done it unto me. But then I believe that's not just Christianity. It's every religion. That's the belief of every human being of decency and civility, that I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. Regardless, Red, what the issue may be, we are here to look after each other. I'm proud to be here tonight because of you. While I may not know, I know about a third of you here, our paths have crossed along life, but you came for a reason. I don't know what the reason is. I asked Rick if this were a fundraiser. I'm used to being a fundraiser. It comes naturally to me to be a fundraiser. But he said, not at all. I just want my friends to know about the issue and about the direction and how an informed society can make informed change and therefore can have productive results. So I'm really proud of you that you would take your time to come out here tonight to hear about this. You know, at the end of the day, please strip us of all of our titles. Would you just call us Americans? Would you just say that we're gifted and blessed to live in this nation? Highpoint University, we say loudly and clearly for all to know. Not everybody likes it. We say this is a God, family, and country school. I say it at every speech, at every open house. Every parent who sends their child to Highpoint gets that from us. We're a God, family, and country school. You can believe in the God you want to believe in, and you can define family the way you choose to define it, and you can look at country the way you choose to know. But I want you to know where I come from. I am a product of this country, and yes, as Carol very clearly and very persuasively said, we're all immigrants. We all come from somewhere. This country was built on because of the talents and skills of immigrants. And so we need you guys to change the world. And maybe someday one of you will become the President of the United States. And you can direct us in even better and down better and more lighted pathways. That's what it's all about. If you're looking at a guy who came to this country at your age and have a mother here, my mother was 7,000 miles away. I came on a one-way ticket. It's true. I came on a one-way ticket. I didn't see my mother for 5 years. I have no idea, folks, why God chose to bless me in the ways He's chosen to bless me. But every day I remind myself, every day I remind my children, it is my responsibility. Scratch that. It is my privilege. Just like you believe, Rick. It is your privilege to help others, wherever and whenever. And you know, the help that you're getting It's really not about money. That's what makes it so special. Oh, money is involved because you always need a little cash, you know, to make things happen. It's really not about money. It's about conviction. It's about belief. It's about desire. That's what it's all about. That's what makes this so powerful. It's not about money. Schools give scholarships all the time to gifted students. It's about believing in the human spirit, in the human soul. I like the three of you. I know one of you is coming to Highpoint. I don't know how we missed out on the other two. I don't know how. She beat me to it. That's really what happened. But let me tell you, wherever you go to school, you're going to do spectacularly well. You're going to change the world. And I am a Rick and Brenda Elias fan. I'm a big fan. I met this guy because a very successful friend of ours lives in San Diego, called me up and said, "You gotta meet Rick." I said, "Who is this Rick guy?" "You gotta meet Rick." And he absolutely made sure that the two of us connected. And boy, did we ever connect. Mr. and Mrs. Elias, where you're sitting back there. They're my kind of people. We're like this. You got some Lebanese blood in you, I know. I know that. I feel it in the air, my brother. We didn't have Lebanese and hummus and all that stuff out there for nothing. That was in your honor. Charlotte doesn't have stuff like that. They have to import it. So I know you're so proud of your son and his achievements. But more proud that he has taken his achievements and evolved them into a bigger picture to help the world. To evolve it into a sphere of influence. You know, success is a wonderful thing. And I wish for all of us to have success. As I told our students on Friday before graduation, I wish for you a life filled with success. But more importantly, life framed with significance. Tonight is about significance. So thank you for being here. And God bless.
Thank you for sharing your passion and your perspectives. And now we are in for another treat. You have the opportunity to ask questions of these three extraordinary leaders.
The question I have is, what do you see as, how do you define excellence for kids in high school, middle, and lower school? And what do you see as the recipes, as potential steps that will help us as educators, as parents, to inspire kids to be excellent?
I know the answer. You know what? I don't know that you can motivate anybody to be excellent. I think that desire is the source of all good things in life. And desire comes from a whole list of places. Sometimes you grow up in a home where you feel it, it's in the zone, it's in the atmosphere, it permeates your being because it's there. Sometimes it's a person who influenced your life. It's a hero, a model, a mentor who entered your crossed your pathway somehow and you want to be like them and become inspired. But I do think that ultimately the most important quality that any one of us could have is the quality of discovery. That's what education is about. Uncovering and discovering knowledge. And more importantly, developing wisdom. Because if all we have is information, people will use us and discard us. If what we have is knowledge, people will call upon us only when they need us. But if what we have is wisdom, people will respect us. So really what we ought to be in the business of is creating wisdom. And you can't have wisdom without knowledge and information and skill and experience to create wisdom. How do we get there? I think we have to create examples for our children. And I think we have to create the kind of material that they listen to, that they watch. Sometimes television is not helpful. If all you listen to is Lady Gaga and you watch Snooki from New Jersey and you watch the Kardashians at night, your life is not going to be as inspiring as if you were once in a while watch the History Channel or Discovery Channel or read a serious book. So we have to encourage people to do that, to become really ready to make something worthwhile of their life.
I don't know, can you guys hear me? Okay. So I would just add to that, kids need hope and kids need really high expectations. Because the worst thing we can do to our children is sell them short. And I think one of the great things about Golden Door is that it gives kids hope and it sets really high expectations for them. So they can do, our kids can do it, they are smart, and they are strong. And you need to help them, we as parents and teachers need to help them find within themselves that strength and give them hope. I didn't realize how much I took hope for granted until I was a junior in high school and started, when I was growing up, girls who got pregnant couldn't go to public school in Delaware. They had to drop out of public school. And so we had a program to help them get their GED degree. And the difference between the kids that I went to school with every day and kids who didn't imagine that there was any relationship between their actions and what happened to them was extraordinary. No relationship between what they did and what happened. We got to give kids hope so that they believe that stuff that they do has some impact on their lives. I took that for granted, and I met a whole group of girls for whom that was unimaginable. Hope, high expectations, and your kids will be great.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, my name is Liz Simmons. I'd like to hear just from each of you, aside from the money we should be giving to Golden Door scholarships and Highpoint University and Davidson, which we really, I hope we can all support the scholarships you started. What should each of us do tomorrow, based on what we've heard from you? What do we need to do based on what you've inspired us to?
Yeah, the biggest gift you can give Golden Door is not money. If you make it a purpose, they say that we should all do something for 30 days, and it kind of becomes a habit. If you can tell one person each day for the next 30 days about what we do, what are we going to do with 1 million undocumented kids under the age of 18? And if we can at all create some level of consciousness in our society about what we're doing, I believe in America. I love this country. I've lived all over the world. And I believe that more people know about this issue we do. And that to me would be a gift. And you know what? They say that trying to do something at the federal level is like trying to boil the ocean. And that maybe states are wonderful laboratories for change. What if Charlotte was a place, a hotbed on this issue, where the momentum of so many influential people here became something of a movement? They say the movement starts with the second person. Join me.
You want to hear from all of us? The beauty of your question is that I think it could be answered by so many people in so many different ways. Rick just expressed his view on that. Each of us has circles of influence, and each of us does what he or she does in our own way every day. And sometimes we feel comfortable in doing it this way or this way or this way. So whatever works for you, what works for you may be you may be in a club, or you may be in a Sunday school class, or you may be at work, or you may have friends that you want to say, let me just tell you what I attended last night. I went to this session, I heard this subject, it's pretty fascinating. I met these three wonderful young people whose life stories are amazing. And gosh, did you know about that? I mean, are you even aware of that? Is it in our consciousness? I have to confess it was not in my consciousness until Rick brought it to life for me. And I'm a well-read guy, and I like to think I'm pretty informed. But it wasn't my consciousness. That doesn't mean I didn't know about it. It just wasn't on my plate. And so maybe in your own way you can bring it on people's plates. That's, I think, ultimately the most important thing.
I think I would say try to have a real conversation with someone who is in some fundamental way very different from you. I think increasingly, as we grow more diverse as a country, we tend to talk to people who are like us. And that the more we can reach out and engage people who in some fundamental, very real way are different from us, the better the environment will be, the more open our minds will be to listening to arguments like the one that Rick made tonight. So I would say make a conscious effort to engage in a real conversation with someone who has different politics than you do, is from a different religion, comes from a different background, or speaks a different native language, and see where that goes.
Wow.
Okay. I'm Ed Williams. I'm a retired gentleman living quietly on a modest fixed income. I have, I guess, more a comment than a question. At least it starts out that way. Thanks to Sally Robinson, I'm sure I'm on the board of trustees of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Library. The Friends of the Library have a sale, a book sale every year, and the proceeds of which go to support the library. When we were encouraging people to donate books for the sale, we got a call from a young woman named Chrissy Moreira, who is a member of the Red Reads Book Club, which is a function of the employees of Red Ventures. And she said, we have some books we'd like to give you. And we said, well, you could just drop them off at any branch library. And she said, no, we have a lot of books we'd like to give you. 2,881 to be precise. Marilyn and I got a pickup truck and went down to get the book sale. We had to take 2 trips. And they had this bunch of young, bright people who helped us load them. And after we finished loading the books, they said, oh, and there's this. And they gave us a check for $14,505 they had raised from sympathetic employees at Red Ventures. I guess what I draw from that is the example you set has an impact far beyond what you might imagine it is. And that's true for Rick, it's true for the other speakers, and it's true, I think, for each of us. The Red Ventures made a big impact on its employees. Its employees made a big impact on the public library. All of you have made a big impact here tonight, and I just wanted to thank you for that.
Hello, my name is Oliver Marino. I'm the intern here at Levine, and I am an undocumented immigrant. I came to, first of all, I want to thank you for having this conversation, because for years, the educational system has refused to acknowledge that there is a problem. The public universities have refused to acknowledge that there is a problem. And if I may tell a little bit about my own story, like you, I came to this country with nothing. My family came and we had nothing. I went through elementary school and middle school and high school, and I learned a lot, and I consider myself an American as well. When I was in my senior year, I saw my classmates apply for college, and I knew fairly well that I wasn't going to be able to go. But I applied anyway, because I wanted to show them that I also had dreams, that I also could get in, and I did get in. But I couldn't go to a traditional university because I didn't have the money. So like you, I went to a community college. But because community colleges give you, I received an out-of-state tuition, what would have taken me 2 years to get, it took me 4 years. I could not afford to be a full-time student. Thankfully, after I graduated, I was back to square one because I didn't have the money to go to university. But thankfully, I received a scholarship to John C. Smith University, and I am currently a student there for my senior year. And everybody here is a person of influence, whether you have money or not. You can learn about the issue and spread the word, and I think that's what we need. Us as undocumented students, we need everybody to kind of come forth and acknowledge that there is a problem and commit to change the situation. That's all.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Gail Summerskill, and I'm an educator. And I would like to ask you, when you have your video go viral, when it gets ready, are you going to have a social media packet so those of us who are involved in social media can put it up on our Facebook or Twitter? And I also wonder, I know that your company has branches across the country, and Charlotte is only one of them, but we mentioned that this is a wonderful community here of people who care about education, and is there a way for us possibly to brand our Charlotteness with the social media packet so that we could share this opportunity with your video and the other things that you're going to be producing? And also, can you give us a time frame when it might go live?
So I'll try to answer them in order. There's actually 3 videos being produced, and Kylie, is it 3 or 4?
Well, 5 at the end of it.
5 videos being produced, and they're all different stories of the same theme. We will put a whole social media program behind it, and I would love for anybody to spread. These things, in the first 72 hours, you either have a viral video or not. So if you have one, it catches fire. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that requires momentum. And the more we can push it out, the better. So yes, absolutely. And we will get whoever wants to email us at goldendoor.org, just say, hey, send me the videos when you have them, and we would love to send them to you. As it relates to Charlotte, I have not thought about it. I struggle with what's next year. We've learned a lot this year. I would like to help hundreds of kids next year. It's a demand and supply issue. I was blown away. I met with 8 school presidents, and they all said absolutely. And they were all very willing to help because I think they get it. That said, schools also have their own constraints. So they were very supportive in our 50-50 partnership, but it's very hard. It's a little bit of I always think about this almost like if you have a window shade. If you pull too hard on the students and you don't have enough seats in school, you can't do it, and vice versa. I would love to find other people where we can, I'll be willing to even seat the thing where in Denver they'll do this, and then somewhere where other people take the leadership. I think this has to be more locally based, because I think these kids need to stay within school. It's all about persistence. It makes no value if we send these kids all over the country, and some of them are ready, and some of them by vocation want to do it, but the closer we can keep them to their environment, still giving them a college education matters. So I haven't thought about it. If you have some thoughts, I'm all about making Charlotte great. And
I will bring you my card.
All right.
I'm looking for a job.
There's some questions up front.
I want to add to the suggestion that you had that, as Rick said, at the Observer, when we have stories like this, it's amazing on both sides, and it's amazing. I think, can you hear me? It's amazing how quickly sometimes those conversations digress into not very nice things. So I just add to your suggestion that I think humans, by and large, are really good and kind-hearted. And if you use this little sheet and talk to your friends about people here and how extraordinary they are, then I think the conversation with someone that might be politically different from you might go in a different direction. I think it's really easy to get heated in the wrong way on this when people are thinking about people like this, like this. This is extraordinary, these stories. So, Liz, when you talk about what can we do, just talk about these incredible young people and their 4.85 grade averages and things they've already accomplished. And I think it takes the conversation to a different place, not a political place, because we really need to make impact, and sometimes it digresses to a political conversation, and it's hard to make progress in that conversation.
And then thank you, and I think if I could add to that, I think a part of why this issue has not been, because I've always wondered, why is not more people talking about it? Because it's a faceless issue. Because until the Defer Action Plan happened in July, which really didn't go into effect until early this year, there was a lot of fear by kids to show up to an event like this, because they were very fearful of getting ousted and their parents getting ousted, and they weren't going to risk everything that their families had done. And through some of the marches that done things like that. But that's why I think the time has come. The time is now, because now we can put a face to this issue. No longer is it a glass prison where you can't see a face. I think if we put real faces and real stories, the majority of our country would say, I don't stand for this.
Final question here.
Well, my first run into Rick was through a charity situation. As I know, Rick, he's always had a very passionate heart to help others. I am a partner at Women of Vision, and what we do, we go to one of our things that we partner with Philippines, the community in Philippines, West Virginia. When we go there every year, every summer, to mentor 2 young girls there. And it's a very depressed area, and with that, the community is really fearful of the fact that we don't have hope. You know, the dropout rates, the obesity, the early pregnancy, there's no guidance. And so what we try to do is find ways to be more impactful and give hopes and inspire and, you know, to lead them to just a better lifestyle and just better understanding of what they could be. Could you give me just a tidbit of what we can do to inspire these girls? I know it's a lot, but we have to take away when we.
So I suspect that you, having done this work and been in this community, are much better equipped to answer that question than I am. But I can maybe speak a little bit to what we can all do. Our words have to be true. Equal opportunity is nice to say, but it has to be real. There has to be opportunity for these kids to imagine a future, so that if they work hard, and if they stay in school, and if they don't go hang out with their friends, and if they avoid trouble, they will have the chance to have a better life. We all have to make that true, because if that's a lie, they don't have hope. So my promise to you is that I will do everything I can to make that real for them, so that it doesn't become a lie. And I think that's our collective obligation to all of our children. Not just my daughter, but all of our children.
On that note, thank you so much. You have been
I want to thank you, both from the bottom of my heart. Getting this to speakers tonight is a real treat for all of us. They are uber busy in graduation time. Nido actually interrupted his vacation to fly in just for this. I am humbled. I am honored.